Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, and we'd like to call the meeting of the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners to order. We'll be led in prayer by Commissioner Turner, and then Commissioner Stevens will lead us in the pledge to the flag.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you again for the opportunity that we've been given today to represent our constituents, Lord. We just ask that you be with us as you have been over the course of the year to give us wisdom and guidance, and may we honor you today in our actions, our words, and our deeds. Be with those who are
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, and we'd like to call the meeting of the Rutherford County Board of
Commissioners. Lord, we give you the glory, and we're thankful for everything that you've done.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, and we'd like to call the meeting of the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners to order. We'll be led in prayer by Commissioner Turner, and then Commissioner Stevens will lead us in the pledge to the flag.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you again for the opportunity.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Schaefer. Here. Commissioner Piercy. Here. Commissioner Jordan. Here. Commissioner P. Here. Commissioner Cook. Here. Commissioner Jernigan. Here. Commissioner Cush. Commissioner Reed. Here. Commissioner Gurley. Here. Commissioner Turner. Here. Commissioner Allen. Here. Commissioner Commissioner Johnson. Here. Commissioner Baum. Here. Commissioner Nipper. Here. Commissioner Dodd. Here. Commissioner Phillips. Commissioner McAdoo. Here. Commissioner Kaplan.
Here.
Commissioner Gooch. Here. Commissioner Sereno. Here. We have a quorum, 21 present.
Thank you very much. Okay, you have received a copy of the minutes, and do we have a motion considering those minutes? Commissioner Phillips.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Burgess. I've reviewed those minutes. They're in order with an exception. Items G2, 6 have the incorrect commissioner making the motion to approve, and that should be Brad Turner. And I move to make that correction to the minutes and approve them as mailed outside of that. Thank you.
All right. Do we have a second to that? Second, Commissioner Turner. All right. So that one correction identified Mr. and Mrs. Clerk there, please. All right. If there are no other questions about that, all of you in favor of that, please say aye. Are there any opposed? Thank you very much. Okay, now we have a time for opportunity for public comments, and we will again remind those that wish to speak, which we have two that do wish to speak today, to come forward. Give us your name and address and make your comments, please. Mr. Donald Todd.
My name is Donald Todd, and I live at 633 Buck Lane. Tax raise is unnecessary. On May 6, 2015, Rutherford County records show that you commissioners permitted investments in CDs totaling $43 million. Instead of wasting this cash by turning it over to the control of 3 banks, you should have been wise enough to leave this surplus revenue in next year's budget so that we could easily use it to alleviate an anticipated budgetary shortfall, which would result in preventing a 7 or 8% raise in taxes for next year. Our county has committed another financial error. We are not using enough surplus revenue to eliminate our huge county debt, which as of June 30th, 2014, totals more than $500 million. This debt includes principal and interest on bonds, notes, and capital lease, as well as present and future OPEB debt, especially health benefits, something that county officials failed to mention at the hearing last June 16th. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, Stephen Ayers. Is Mr. Ayers with us? All right, I don't see him present, so that would complete then the public comments that have been requested. All right, next we have elections and confirmations, and we'll call on Commissioner Turner for that item.
Thank you, Mayor Burgess. Commissioners, you'll find in front of you a list of notaries that are going to need our confirmation and approval today. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the notaries listed on the iPads be approved.
Do we have a second? Commissioner Sereno, any questions at all? If not, all of you in favor of that, please say aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you very much. Next on the agenda is a resolution to approve the consent agenda. We'll recognize Commissioner Phillips.
Thank you, Mayor Burgess. There are 12 items on the consent agenda, and barring any commissioner's wish to remove those items, I move that they be approved.
Is there a second to that motion? Second, Commissioner Jordan. Anyone have anything they wish to remove? There being none, then this requires a roll call vote, so please cast your vote.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
All right, then. Everyone has voted. Record your votes, please.
21 yes, motion passes.
All right, thank you very much. There is not any unfinished business today. We'll now start on the reports by our standing committees, and our first report is from Commissioner Jordan on the Budget, Finance, and Investment Committee.
Morning, everyone. Isn't it a beautiful day? Proud to be a commissioner on days like today. We're going to cut straight to the chase. Resolution authorizing the tax levy in Rutherford County for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2015. Section 1, be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of Rutherford County, Tennessee, assembled in regular session on this 26th day of June, 2015, that the combined property tax rate for Rutherford County, Tennessee for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2015 shall be $2.68 on each $100 of taxable property, which is to provide revenue for each of the following funds and otherwise conform to the following levies. That's a list there of County General, 0.6395, Ambulance Service, 0.0661, Highway, 0.0126, General Purpose Schools, $0.3435, Educational Capital Project, 5 cents, and Debt Service, 0.5683, for a total of $2.68. And a further explanation of where these go on the rest. But for the main thing, this is just a tax rate, $2.68. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Second, Commissioner Allen. Any discussion or questions here? Commissioner Gurley.
Yes. I'd like to propose a motion to make a motion to amend the tax rate to include a 5-cent fire tax in the unincorporated areas of the county. The Public Safety Committee voted for a 15-cent fire tax. However, that was not further discussed in ongoing proceedings. We've got a lot of volunteer fire departments out there that are really struggling. We've got to replace this aging equipment. We will not receive any monies to expend until next year. We'll consider expenditures in next year's budget because we've got to collect the taxes. So if we don't do it now, it's going to be 2 years from now before we're going to be able to expend any of these funds. The fairest and best way to do this is through a fire tax that benefits those that are in the unincorporated areas, as opposed to applying development tax funds to this. It's something that I feel strongly about. It does benefit the taxpayer by lower insurance rates. If we have right now, if we have one volunteer fire department that tries to go out and buy new equipment on their own and winds up defaulting and so on, fire service in an area insurance rates could go through the roof overnight. And so I would like to make a motion to amend the tax rate to include a 5-cent fire tax in the unincorporated areas of the county.
Thank you, Mr. Gurley. Is there a second to that amendment? Mr. Nipper has made a second to that requested amendment. All right, further discussion. Commissioner P.
Well, having been a volunteer and been out knocking on doors and asking for money, it's hard to do. But the county's got a system set up to pay for fire, and that's by using the situs tax money, which is generated by the citizens in the rural areas. Now, if you go back and look, the reason we didn't have to use that 15-cent fire tax this year is because there was situs tax money available enough to cover that. And that's exactly what has happened here. Now, I don't disagree with Mr. Gurley. We need to go ahead and do something about it, getting these trucks to these volunteer departments. You know, we had promised that we were going to roll those trucks into those departments once every 10 years. I think it's well past 10 years, maybe 15 on the last months that we bought. However, you know, looking at the other increases we've got out there, I think this would be better left for next year. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. P. Any other comments or questions? Mr. Nipper.
Well, I agree with Mr. Gurley that we need to put a tax on the unincorporated because I asked Chief Farley the other day that when there was a fire out there in the Walter Hill area that trucks from Barfield had to go out and fight the fire. And during the day, there was only 2 volunteer firemen from Walter Hill that showed up. Granted, that was a fire that had been set before, to my understanding, and it was not someone's home who had lost everything. But, you know, we need to put firemen and equipment in the northern part of the county so that they will have, the people there will have the same fire protection that the south side of the county has. So, thank you.
Mr. Jordan.
We talked about this just a little bit back early in the budget process. My district, except for one little subdivision, is all rural. Affect my area greatly. But my constituents said they wanted to see some numbers as far as what's going to save them on insurance and things like that. And while I appreciate Mr. Gurley's amendment, personally, I'm going to be against this at this time until we can thoroughly vet this and make sure how much we want to add, because just come up here and at the last minute throw a tax on a whole group of people that haven't had a chance to respond to it, then personally I'm going to vote no. I'm not going to say I won't support a situs tax or fire tax in the future, but I think we need to know exactly where we're going with it and what insurance rates are going to do and things like that. So I would urge you, no offense, Mr. Gurley, but leave this till next year.
Mr. Schaefer.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything on the first vote, but since an amendment came up, I would like to mention, especially in view of what Commissioner P. said, yes, there is a plan in place, but we've already gotten away from it this year because in the development tax, we're giving 3 fire vehicles are in there for the rural area. And to me, I just think that's too much in the development tax to be going for 3 vehicles there. And if we just cut one there and transfer money from the general fund that can be used by development tax, we could cut the tax rate slightly. So I'm going to support it for that reason.
All right, thank you. Anyone else have a question or a comment? If not, then I think we're ready to vote on the amendment. So all of you that are in favor of amending the amendment that's been made that would add, just for the unincorporated area, 5 cents as a situs tax for the purposes of supporting fire services, please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Everyone has voted, so please record the votes.
4 yes, 17 no. Motion fails.
All right, thank you for your participation and your discussion. Now we have before us the original motion, which is to approve the tax levy, which totals in the amount of 2.68. And is there any further discussion on that? All right, Mr. Schaefer.
I just feel that I just got to give my views on this, and I want to make an amendment to it when it does pass, and that is that, like I just stated, I feel that there's other places we can receive money from that we have looked at, and it can help us reduce the tax increase slightly. But I would like to make an amendment, and some of this I've said before in budget, but I feel I have to say it again today, and especially in view of a flyer that I received in the mail yesterday, and that is that this increase would not have to be near what it was without the unfunded mandates that we receive from the state of Tennessee and the federal government. And in fact, yesterday, what this flyer said was the General Assembly in the last legislative session helped Tennessee students by supporting more science, technology, engineering, and math classes, as well as providing more support for local teachers. Now, I could go into a litany on this of the funding for that, but I'll just suffice it right now to say that the state of Tennessee, yes, they came through with all those things, but they didn't do anything to fund it. So here, my amendment is, this is an older budget book, and when it comes out, I would like to see a dedication behind that front page, and that dedication is to our federal and state representatives that this budget is dedicated to them.
So you're making a motion that we add, when we publish the actual budget book, it contains therein all the information regarding revenues and expenses, et cetera, that we have a page dedicated to the honor of our state legislative delegation. Is there a second to that motion to require that to be included in our very respectful and professional document? All right, no one has made a second to that motion, so thank you for the levity of this discussion here, Mr. Schaefer, but that has failed. Any other discussion regarding this motion that's on the table to approve the tax levy of $2.68? If not, then please cast your votes. All right, everyone is now voted. Go ahead.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change their vote, you may do so now.
Everyone has voted. Please record the votes.
14 yes, 7 no. Motion passes.
Thank you very, very much. Next.
Item J1B, resolution authorizing appropriations for the various fund departments, institutions, offices, and agencies for Rutherford County for fiscal year 2015. Section 1, be it resolved by the Commissioners of Rutherford County, Tennessee on the 26th day of June 2015 that the amounts hereafter set out are hereby appropriated for the purpose of meeting the expenses of various funds, departments, institutions, offices, and agencies of Rutherford County, Tennessee for a capital outlay and for meeting the payment of principal and interest on the county's debt maturing during the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2015 and ending June 30, 2016, according to the following schedule. The general fund is $90,117,630. Rutherford County Economic Fund, $196,185. Solid Waste Fund, $4,475,030. Ambulance Fund, $12,361,366. Special Purpose Fund, $10,000. Drug Control Fund, $589,160. Highway Fund, $8,780,544. General Purpose School Fund, $326,144,038. Central Cafeteria Fund, $17,505,993. Education Capital Projects Fund, $3,914,770. And the Debt Service Fund of $43,156,499. Mr. Chairman, I so move. 59, okay, yeah.
All right.
I so move, that's corrected by
Second, Commissioner
Mackey.
Schaefer. All right, any discussion or questions regarding this? Commissioner Gurley.
Yes, before we vote on it, I'd like to read a statement. Because I'm an employee of Rutherford County EMA for a few more weeks, I have a conflict of interest in the proposal about to be voted. However, I declare my argument and my vote answer only to my conscience and to my obligation to my constituents and the citizens this body represents. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner P.
Because my wife is an employee of the Rutherford County Board of Education, I have a conflict of interest in the proposal about to be voted. However, I declare that my argument and my vote answer only to my conscience and to my obligation to my constituents and the citizens this body represents.
Commissioner Serino.
Also was employed by the Rutherford County Board of Education. I have a conflict of interest about to be voted on. However, I declare that my argument and my vote answer my conscience to my obligations to the Constitution and the citizens of this body represent.
Commissioner Dodd.
Thank you. Because my wife is an employee of the County Board of Education, I have a conflict of interest in the proposal about to be voted. However, I declare that my argument and my vote answer only to my conscience and to my obligation to my constituents and the citizens of this body represents.
Any other discussion or questions regarding this resolution authorizing the appropriations for the various funds? If there are none, then please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Please record the votes.
15 yes, 6 no, motion passes.
Thank you.
Item J1C is a presentation of CT-0253 form for energy efficient loan. This is just to be presented to the commission, so it's in your packets, and feel free to read that at your own leisure. I want to appreciate everybody's support for the budget. The Budget Committee put a lot of time into the budget, and while we all hate to talk about or raise taxes, I think we did a pretty good thing today, and hopefully we won't be back raising taxes for several more years.
Dream on. Okay, thank you, Mr. Jordan, and thank the Budget, Finance, and Investment Committee and all of your committees for working on this really now for several months. And I think all of us, this would be wise if we just give our Finance Department, led by our very capable Finance Director, Mrs. Nolan, a round of applause just to show our appreciation to them.
Thank you. I tell you what, we couldn't, it is a big ship, and we can't do it with everybody involved in my department and all the departments. I mean, it takes a village to adopt a budget.
And before we move on, I noticed some of the ladies from the Farm Bureau are just now leaving, and I should have, at the very beginning of this meeting, thanked them, so maybe they can hear still for them serving breakfast to all those that wish to participate this morning. We do appreciate it again this year. Okay, let's move forward then. The Health and Education Committee, there's not a report. The Property Management, no report. We do have one item that's come up that needs to be taken care of today from our Public Safety Committee. We'll call on Commissioner Schaefer.
Morning. We do have one resolution for your consideration today, and it deals with volunteer fire departments of Rockvale and Walter Hill about coming into the county. We have approved Rockvale before, but we just want to make sure that we've dotted all our I's and crossed all our T's. So, whereas it is in the best interest of the citizens of Rutherford County for the Rockvale Fire Department and Walter Hill Volunteer Fire Department to become part of the Rutherford County Fire Rescue Department, and Rutherford County to accept, transfer, and conveyance of the real property and assets of Rockvale Fire Department and Walter Hill Volunteer Fire Department. Now therefore be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that Rutherford County accept the transfers and conveyance of Rockvale Fire Department and Walter Hill Volunteer Fire Department to become a part of the Rutherford County Fire Rescue Department. Be it further resolved, the county mayor and other appropriate officials be and they hereby are authorized to execute for and on behalf of Rutherford County, Tennessee, and any and all documents required for the transfer of the real property and assets of Rockvale Volunteer Fire Department and Walter Hill Volunteer Fire Department, resolved this 26th day of June, 2015. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
And a second from? Oh, okay, Commissioner Piercy. All right, any discussion on that? Commissioner Phillips?
Commissioner Schaefer, I don't remember this coming before Public Safety. Did it?
Rockvale has been taken care of in the past. And like I said, we just want to make sure everything's done on that. Walter Hill, we have discussed it, that they were coming in. And then they want to get them in at the beginning of the fiscal year. And so, no, it did not come officially before Public Safety. But that's why we bring it. I brought it here. Okay. Because it's a necessity that it get done on the beginning of the fiscal year. And the mayor came to me.
The mayor should have brought this before Public Safety in an official way. The only way it's been discussed at Public Safety on about 2 or 3 different occasions is through the budget. It was clearly identified that in the budget that that's what we had done there. In fact, the monies, as described, had been the $50,000 they've been getting individually was moved into the other budget, and that was fully discussed and fully, you might say, developed. But we didn't have an official vote to actually do that, except through the budget approval process.
I'm in support of this, but I do object for it not going to Public Safety and with no explanation of it not going to Public Safety before it was presented.
Well, I received it Wednesday afternoon, and it needs to go through the first of the year.
Okay, other questions or discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me, Mr. Reed.
I'm so glad to see this as far as Rockvale is concerned. That's in my district right there. I did vote a while ago with Commissioner Gorley as far as the fire tax was concerned. And some of you may question why I voted that way. I'm very supportive of what our fire departments do out here. I guess I was basically dotting my I right there just to be sure, because I did not know how anybody else was voting out here, and I just wanted to be sure we were going that way. Because we've got something good going right now, and it's important we continue to go on that path. And by these 2 departments right here coming on board and where we can be sure to protect the citizens of this county, their property and their lives. And our fire departments out there now are much more than something just going out to put out fires for structures. They are also rescue units. They're spending about as much time out here on our highways and our roadways taking care of lives. And I think this should be recognized by our individuals out there too. When we first discussed a fire tax, I spent some time out talking to my people out there, and they were I got people that were supportive of it and what we were talking about there. But I do know we have a way to take care of this to get some support there. But I'm very supportive of what we're doing here with these two companies that will be coming on. And I just want to let you know that as a commissioner, I'm supportive of our Rutherford County Fire Protectors.
Thank you, Commissioner Reed. Commissioner Piercy.
Since the other fire station lies in my district, I think it's very important that the communities know that they are not being forced or being taken over by the county. It's a volunteer situation that they have asked to be operated by the county. The mayor's not forcing them. This committee is not forcing them to come over. They don't have to come. Am I right?
Yes, sir. All right, thank you very much. Is there any other discussion? Any comments? All right, then we have a motion then to merge within the Rutherford Fire Rescue Department, the Rockville Volunteer Fire Department, and the Walter Hill Volunteer Fire Department. If there's no further discussion, all of you in favor of that, then please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right, that appears to be unanimous. There's not a report from Public Works or our steering committee. Is there any other business anyone wishes to bring before this body? Commissioner Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one thing that I wanted to echo, and I know it's a common theme that we seem to deal with, but I just wanted to remind the commission that Steering and Legislative Committee actually has an annual meeting with our state delegation, usually in January, I think, Commissioner, get right around that time. There's not much of a better way than to put pressure on those folks and be sitting right behind them when they're having to look at us up here and answer some of the questions that we're going to be asking them again, because I think it was even Scott Broden from the D&J that I was speaking to probably last month that specifically referenced a conversation I had with our entire delegation about please stop doing what you're doing to us. And there seemed to be a unanimous consent around that they'll do their best to make sure we get full funding and that things will be good and we'll all walk, hand in hand, lockstep towards, a better tomorrow. And then all of a sudden we're the ones that get thrown in front of the firing range. And that's got to stop happening. And I don't know what we need to do, and obviously I sound like I'm whining, and maybe I am, and if it comes off that way, I apologize. But at some point, counties in the state have to push back. And we have to figure out something that we can do, whether it's legally, whether it's, I don't know, but something has to be done. Because until we start holding everybody across the board on the state legislature, not just our delegation, but any delegation that's a part of this, accountable for what they're doing to the counties, they're not going to understand that type of impact. I think right now there's been a pretty good bubble and a pretty good shield that's been around those delegations that keep doing this and keep pushing us, and then we're going to be the ones that are going to take the bullets for that. So I guess I say all that to say this. Come to that meeting. If you're going to come to any other committee meeting that you're not assigned as part of your responsibilities, go to budget meetings and come to that steering meeting where we can collectively sit there as 21 strong commissioners and say enough is enough, and that we're going to start pushing back on this. And by whatever means necessary, I don't know what that means quite yet, but we have to do something. Because Commissioner Jordan, I think tongue-in-cheek, just said hopefully we won't have to do that for a couple years. We'll be back up here next year doing the same conversation, and everybody sitting here and everybody in the audience needs to know that. And it puts Ms. Nolan, I actually had a quick conversation with her about what can we do to try to understand a little bit better about what we're going to be voting on as far as a tax increase before we actually pass a budget. One of the challenges that I had with the health and education budget was we passed it before we even really knew what the tax rate was, and then all of a sudden we were told what the tax rate was going to have to be to meet that budget. And I trust what Ms. Nolan's doing, and she said we've got a good practice about going into the next calendar and fiscal year, or going into the next fiscal year with a budget in place, and that's good business. What's not good business from any type of conversation you have with business owners or from a moral perspective is puffing your chest out, patting your chest, saying, look what I'm doing for education, these other things, and you're not finding a way to fund that. You're taking the credit for that, but you're not helping dig the ditches to get there. That's got to stop. Last but not least, again, I've said it 2 times, I'm going to say it again. Show up to that meeting with us in January at that steering and legislative meeting, and let's let that delegation know that we are watching and we're paying attention. But more importantly, we're continuing to keep getting out a universal message that's consistent with what we believe to our constituents, that when those tax increases come, you can bet your bottom dollar that a majority of those are decisions that we didn't make, but we have to implement. So I thank you for your time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. New commissioners that came on this year, you guys did a marvelous job, and you picked a heck of a year to get elected by having to have some of these tough conversations. But I tip my hat to you, and we're a stronger commission because you guys ran and you guys were elected. And I'm honored to serve up here, and I'm looking forward to 2015 and 2016.
Commissioner Schaefer and then Commissioner Phillips.
I would just like to mention that on Tuesdays between 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. through September, that there is a Laverne Farmers Market that is open. It's located just to the left of City Hall and the Police Department behind the old library.
Mr. Phillips.
I'd just like to thank Commissioner Turner for making those comments. They were to the point and very well received, at least by this commissioner. Maybe we ought to take a look at doing something before January. Maybe we ought to look at November or December so that our legislative delegation can react before January. So maybe we ought to kind of get out of a box ourselves a little bit and give them time to digest what we share with them. So maybe November, maybe December, we ought to meet with those guys in anticipation of that legislative session starting in January, because if we meet in January, they really don't have a lot of time to react to some of the feedback that they've received from us. So maybe at the steering committee we can take a look at doing something besides a January meeting.
Point well taken. Commissioner Gurley.
Yeah, I also would like to thank Commissioner Turner for making those comments. I noted that one part of the school budget this year was technology, and that was required due to something the state did. And but once again, there was no funds. We're funding that. And so I think that's very true both at the federal level and the state level. There should be, if you're going to create something, then you need to have a way to fund it. And on just local notes, the Blackman Barbecue is this evening at 5 o'clock at the Ag Center.
Thank you very much. Mr. Jordan.
I was fixing to talk about the Blackman Barbecue as one of my items, but Mr. Gurley covered that. We had a lot of good ideas come before budget toward the end. I know Commissioner Stevens came up and talked about defined benefits for our retirees and stuff, and we talked a little bit about a wheel tax, and we talked a little bit about a fire tax, and we talked a little about it here today. And I would urge whatever committees those need to start in, be it steering or public safety or whoever, let's start that conversation in August and get this thoroughly vetted so we can be in a position to implement some of this stuff for next year. Let's not wait till next spring and all of a sudden say we need to be looking at our insurance or our retiree benefits. Let's try and get ahead of the game a little bit, and let's not forget this tax increase by the time we come back. And I would hope we would start that process so we're in a position to make some changes so we aren't raising taxes next year.
Thank you. Commissioner Allen.
I just want to make a couple of points quickly. This is in part to brag on us and to also brag on the school board, because this was not an easy vote today, and this was not an easy process. None of us wanted to come up here and vote for a tax increase, and all the reasons have been explained. But one of the things that you need to know, even after passing this increase, we educate our children at $980 per student less than the state average, which equates to roughly $40 million. So that's $40 million annually that we're not spending, that other schools are spending, other school systems are spending. So obviously that's because people before us and the school board before them, we've been good stewards, we've been good caregivers of that money. So we need to make sure that we acknowledge those successes as well, because that's pretty significant. The other point is we have the lowest administrator to student ratio in all of Middle Tennessee. So we're doing more with our leaders. We're asking them to do more, and so I appreciate how hard this vote was, but I also want to acknowledge some of the successes that we're also experiencing.
Thank you very much. That was points well taken. All of you have. I just want to say thank you to all of you that have participated and helped us work through in a very diligent and respectful way some difficult situations. But I commend you for your commitment to serve, and it's making a real difference in Rutherford County. Anyone else have any other business?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I
Commissioner
can't
Reed.
leave here without inviting everybody out to Rockville, 4th of July. The oldest Rockville celebration in the county is out there. Come out and have some real good eats. And this year, we're highlighting public safety. We've invited the Rutherford County Fire Department out there. They're going to have about 1 or 2 of their new units out there. The Sheriff's Department's going to be there with the fast team, and the choice car will be there. So we'll be highlighting some of what's available in this county right here. I can't leave here either without talking about our budget and what we've done here. None of us really wanted to come here today and increase our property taxes. But there are things that have to be done, and we're talking about our education. And we've all seen the figures out there where we're number 2 in the state, I think number 23 in the nation. And I had someone call me the other day talking about property taxes, about what they wanted, and it wasn't all that good of a conversation, I'd have to say. And I had to tell them, I said, you know, we're number 2 in the state. And I have to tell you that as a child growing up, I was in 4-H club, and I was always told to make the best better. And in my house was a cedar chest, and inside that cedar chest were a whole lot of red ribbons, which meant you got second place. And the red ribbons were in that cedar chest. But on my wall were all the blue ribbons and the purple ribbons. Those were ones where I won first place. And I said, I always wanted to make the best better, and I think here in Rutherford County that's what we look for too in our education system. I said, I always saw second place was first place loser. And I said, what I want to see for Rutherford County is a lot of blue ribbons, not second place. And I said, I do not want to see our educators going to the first place county to get a job. I want them right here to make us first place. That's why we do what we do. And I appreciate everything that's been done by all the commissioners on this panel. And I noticed Commissioner Jordan said, don't forget this increase. I don't think we'll forget this increase. I think we'll be reminded quite often. I'm expecting that at that 4th of July picnic. But everyone have a great celebration of our country's freedom.
Thank you very much, very much. Okay, anyone else? If there's no other one that wishes to speak, then thank you for your support and your participation, and we are adjourned.